Hey, mama, daddy, whoever's watching, who's part of the family. Thank you for trusting me to bring in your kiddo. I think it's one of the most important parts of my work is when a mom and dad trust me and hand their child, baby, however old they are, to me and trust that I can help and I can help them and I can help you. And so I want to first just thank you. It doesn't go unnoticed. Every single day, every single week, I am so darn grateful that this practice is 50% pediatrics, 80% family. And I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner. I want my practice filled with people like me that value the same thing as me. So thank you. I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek as to what we're going to talk about. And especially people with kiddos, we don't know. We don't know how they're going to be. We don't know if we're going to have temper tantrums or blowouts or if they're going to be fussy the whole time. So I just want to ease you a little bit and you can have an idea of what we're going to go over, how long it'll take, and any questions that you have that this little conversation brings up for you. Just write down and we can cover when you're in for your results appointment, okay? So first things first, I just want to touch on my mission. You're going to get a packet of stuff to go home with. And wink, wink, I hope you've looked through the things that you got at your new patient appointment. But you're going to have another packet of information. So if one parent isn't here or if a decision maker isn't here, just know that I'm always available to answer any questions. It happens sometimes that someone isn't sure or they have questions or, hey, maybe you had a bad experience somewhere and you want to talk through it and that other parent wasn't able to be here. I'm totally available. Email, text, Facebook message, whatever. My people I take ultimate care of you, our people. So our mission is to transform lives, and that's a little bit different than the, maybe you'd call it the old school chiropractor. There's still some people that don't even know that chiropractic is for kids. And so I decided to do this video just to kind of have an overview, no matter where you're at. It's all about the brain and it's all about the nervous system. The brain communicates through that spine and then out all of the billions of nerves that we have, and that controls all the trillions of cells that we have. That is the foundation of healing. If we don't address the brain, we don't address the spinal cord, we're missing a huge piece of the puzzle, okay? So therapy, there are many things that make the puzzle go, right? But the foundation of it, we absolutely need to start with the brain. We need to rebalance the brain first. Everything else will work better after that, okay? So depending on the age of your kiddo, if, like for babies, we just did this scan, typically just did one. When they get to be 4 or 5, or even just sit still, because it's a struggle sometimes, then we get more results. Then we get more testing. But for all intents and purposes, I'm going to talk about this one and I'm going to talk about this one. And not so much that if they're under 4, they didn't get this one, but I'm going to talk about the importance of what chiropractic means. These tests have to do with how the body is handling stress. Now, babies, they're going to be more stressed because of birth. Birth is a huge, huge, huge trauma to everybody involved. Mama, baby, and anyone in the circle, right? As we know, we've all been there. The most important thing is that if it's a beautiful, perfect birth and there's no interventions, you didn't have Pitocin, you didn't have an epidural, you labored on your own, there was no doctor pulling the head out, there's still 30 plus pounds of pressure on the head and neck pulling up. That's a normal vaginal delivery. It can be up to 70 to 80 pounds of pressure when there's forceps, vacuum, C-section. Everybody has their own experience. I'm not bundling anything into one category. All I'm sharing this for is so that you know that it is hugely traumatic. Now, we don't know the position of baby. Could have been like this, stuck up against your pubic bone like this. We don't know, but when that baby comes out, you probably will know. You will know the position that they were in for the last amount of time. Could be 2 days, could be 2 weeks, could have been 2 months, depending on the health of your pelvis, how much movement you had in there for baby to roam, to flip, to rotate, okay? When they get stuck in breech, when they're rotated, that typically means that your body, your pelvis, didn't have enough room in there to move so that baby could freely move. That's when cord wraps around neck and all the things that come with that. So when I say 30 to 40 pounds of pressure on a head, I'm not talking about any other stressors. I'm not talking about Pitocin, epidural, all the anti-nausea meds, not talking about any interventions. So poking that thing into their forehead to see heart rate, it's truly nothing. But when we have any other intervention, it's going to start to go wonky. That baby's body is going to start to be more stressed. So I get to see stress when I'm adjusting them. I get to see that it's kind of like washing or wringing out a washcloth. As soon as the head, baby's head starts going a different direction because he was stuck in there, and then when he came out, his shoulder got stuck and then he got pulled out. As soon as the head starts going that way, we're going to have the pelvis start going this way. And now we have torque on the nervous system. Torque doesn't typically bode well for a baby. They're going to be fussy. They're going to be agitated. Digestion is going to be a little bit off, because imagine what happens to the insides. Here's the baby. Here's the belly is what I meant to say. And we start doing this, that body is all mixed up, okay? The testing so that you can see what's going on. I can feel what's going on and I can explain it, but I do think it's really important that you can see that there's other testing so that I'm not just saying this is what's going on. Look at the baby's head, toddler's head, a small child's head. Typically, if there's a misshapen head when they're 0 to 1, they're going to be misshapen when they're 5, okay? And I'm not saying you should have gotten a helmet. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, though, that there's stress still in the skull. That brain is still stressed. And so the sooner we can get to that baby, the faster we can unwind that dural system, the sheath that goes around the brain and down the spinal cord. And the sooner we can do that, the faster the body is going to adapt and heal, okay? There's so many things that happen with babes. From the first latch breastfeeding, are they latching appropriately from side to side? Are they fussy after they eat? Any reflux? Do they just seem agitated and like their tummy hurts and they're wiggling even though they can't really even wiggle? Are they struggling pooping? Do you notice that the head is just like this? It only turns this way, but it does not turn this way. Those are all signs that there is stress in your belly or in mama's belly and stress during birth. The most important time to get a baby adjusted is when they're in the belly. Afterwards, the most important time to be adjusted is ASAP. Okay, so now we have baby, we have kids. One of the parts of our testing is primitive reflexes. And so what they are is they're reflexes the nervous system, well, the baby has to essentially keep them safe. So the startle, the grasp, right? They fall and they do this. You put your finger in their thumb, they're supposed to do this. We do all those testings to make sure that the brain is communicating to the body. Primitive reflexes are supposed to go away as the brain develops, which is why we continue to test. And if there's any challenges with a kiddo, neurological, let's say autism, ADHD, sensory processing disorder, OCD, ADHD, ADD, any of those, we're going to test reflexes. Doesn't matter if they're 4 years old or if they're 12 years old or if they're 20 years old, we're going to continue to test them because the key is they're supposed to go away. Those reflexes are supposed to go away. When they don't, it's like a halt in the brain. We got left brain, we got right brain. It's supposed to connect in between and then all the way down and through. Well, if there's a halt, if there's a primitive reflex on the right that's still there, that slowed down the right brain. So now we don't have equals from right to left. That left brain is growing at a different pace than the right. This is chiropractic. It's so important that they're getting adjusted so that those primitive reflexes can go away on their own. Now, do they always go away on their own? No, they don't. It depends on how much trauma the kiddo has been through, their past, how long it's been. So if that kid is 5 years old and we're starting to see changes, that's a lot different than 12 years old. We've had problems for 8 years. That's much different to unwind. So some of those kiddos will benefit from speech, OT, PT, but I always recommend that they're adjusted first, because we have to get the brain working. We have to get the body responding to the brain, because that brain is in hyperactive gear. Adrenaline junkies all the time, which is why now he won't sit at school, doesn't listen, can't remember. Now it's affecting learning. We're going to medicate. There is absolutely no judgment here. I'm always just curious as to what would chiropractic have done? What would changing their food have done? What would taking away social media or any kind of technology have done? A lot. I would bet a lot. The longer that brain is in fight or flight, the longer it's going to take to heal and to unwind. So think about this washcloth, right? We're just continuing to ebb and flow. That brain and that sacrum are constantly talking to each other. The most important thing is to make sure that the brain is getting the messages that it needs to start to reconnect. So start to reconnect the disconnect, okay? It's like some of these kiddos' body is over here and brain is over here. And they're like, what is happening? They're all over the place. It's about reconnecting the disconnect. That's what every single adjustment is. Think of, do you know what an Etch-a-Sketch is? That red thing, you know, and you shake it. I mean, I do. I played with that when I was a kid, so I imagine you probably do too. But when you draw something on that screen, you shake it, and it's a blank canvas, right? That's what every adjustment does. It's like a Control-Alt-Delete reboot for that computer, for that brain. And so for that brain that is on adrenaline, it's fight or flight. We're struggling with learning, we're struggling with behavior, we're struggling with chronic sickness, we're struggling with constipation. Every adjustment decreases it. So instead of that kid always being a 12 out of 10, now Johnny's an 8 out of a 10. And he leaves this office like, oh, that feels good, Mom. I feel a lot calmer. Yes, 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 because now Johnny has belief that that old stuff doesn't have to be as normal. And this could be for anything and everything. It can be for chronic sinus infections, not being able to poop, bedwetting, ear infections, ADHD, whatever it is, to me is just the blinky, flashy light that tells me that there is a disconnect. And now the brain is responding with a heightened awareness of everything. And that's a struggle for Johnny because he doesn't know how to adapt to that. So those are the two biggest components of a kid's check, okay? We do the scans. If they're a little bit older and they can sit still, they're gonna do a few more. So you might see a sheet like this. If they're a baby, we're gonna just have this one and it's gonna fill up the whole sheet. That gives me an idea of stress of birth, how fast that babe's gonna come through, okay? Next, we have this little nerve sheet, the same one that was in front of the scanning chair. And if you were holding your babe, you probably didn't even notice this, but if your kiddo was sitting watching while trying to sit still, this is that chart that was on the wall, okay? Whatever their tests were are in colors, and this basically shows how everything's working together or maybe how it's not, okay? Next, if they were able to do all three of these, for all four of those tests, they're gonna get a sheet like this. If not, they're not. This is like a score sheet, and I know we like A's and B's, but this is not A's and B's. We want numbers to be between that 80, 85 in a perfect world. Anything lower, especially in a chronic way, we know this has been going on for a really long time. And next is my recommendation sheet based on your health goals for your kiddo. We as parents want them to be happy, right? We want them to be healthy, and we don't want any limitation ever. That doesn't mean we don't want challenge. We don't want them to be limited, to not get the same chance, the same opportunity other kids have. And this is why I do what I do, because when you can teach a 5-year-old what good feels like, or a 2-year-old, or maybe you teach that 12-year-old because they've felt like garbage their whole life and they thought like, wow, is this how it's going to be my whole life? Am I going to have to take an anxiety pill just to go to school because I'm so panicked? And even though I take my pill, I still start freaking out at period 6. I mean, that's what kids are starting to think. Is my stomach ever going to feel better? Will I ever be able to eat the same as everyone else eats? Because right now everything reacts and everything makes them bloat, everything makes them poop, or not, or get stuck in there. Whatever it is, we want a kid to always believe that their body can heal at 100% every single time. Every single time. They don't need to be less than ever. We want them to believe that their body's totally brilliant, never broken. And I, in the way I practice, see that. I see your kid as totally whole. I see Johnny as having full opportunity, full possibility, but right now we need to figure out how to get that brain balanced. And now how to get those emotions under check. And now how to handle the external environment without having a temper tantrum or banging his head against the wall. Because all of that creates major stress at home. There's this shame, embarrassment, resentment, blame thing that happens. Marriages are stressed. Finances are stressed because you're constantly looking for more answers because you've lost hope. And so I'm here to give you hope that it can be different. I'm here to show that Johnny's body can heal. It has full capability to heal, but right now this is what we need to do. And so I give you that plan. I tell you, this is what I recommend for your kiddo. And this is how I recommend to do it. And this is what I'm going to look for because this is what's going on. And there's always hope. There's always hope. It's just finding the right people that can see you in brilliance, see your kids in brilliance, so that we can start to be happier and healthier, that we can start to communicate with love. And that when we do that, our families change, man. We're different role models as parents when our kids feel better. And when our families change, our communities change. And that's my whole premise. Small town North Dakota girl. Macville first, Devil's Lake. This was the big city that Craig and I decided to move to. And it's not a big city. It's made up of families just like you, families just like me. And I care as much about the family as I do the person. And I care about the community as much as I do the family and about the person. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for trusting in me and my team. And we're going to do magic with your little babe. See you next time.